Yeah, UNRWA is Hamas. Everyone Israel hates is Hamas. Notes from the edge of the narrative matrix. The Israeli Knesset has banned UNRWA, an absolutely critical agency for getting humanitarian aid into Gaza, with the architect of the bill saying this was happening because, quote, UNRWA equals Hamas. In addition to everything else this genocide has been, it's been a colossal insult to our intelligence. UNRWA is Hamas. Hospitals are Hamas. Journalists are Hamas. Civilian infrastructure is Hamas. Ambulances, schools, and mosques are Hamas. The women and babies, okay, maybe they're not technically Hamas, but Hamas is definitely hiding behind them and using them as human shields. We are asked to believe self-evidently idiotic things. And if we don't, we get called Nazi Jew haters. We are being asked to turn ourselves into empty-headed morons to advance the information interests of a foreign state that's allied with our government. Stupidity is being framed as a sign of patriotism. Gullibility is being framed as a sign of rejecting antisemitism. In this morally bankrupt and perverse civilization, the noblest thing you can be is a blithering imbecile. Axios and its Israeli intelligence insider Barak Ravid have penned yet another White House press release disguised as a news story about how concerned the Biden administration is about Israel's actions in Gaza. The Biden administration is deeply concerned that two bills passed by the Israeli Knesset on Monday will exacerbate the already dire humanitarian crisis in Gaza and harm Palestinians in East Jerusalem and the West Bank, Ravid writes. Oh shit, you guys, the Biden administration is deeply concerned that Israel is doing something bad in Gaza. You're in trouble now, Bibi. Like I said, just one nonstop insult to our intelligence. CNN has issued an apology after its panelist Ryan Girdusky told fellow panelist Mehdi Hassan, "I hope your pager doesn't go off," after Hassan said he supports Palestinians. Israel supporters have been directing this you should be murdered with an explosive pager wisecrack at Israel's critics for weeks, and apparently Girdusky just forgot where he was in the heat of the moment. CNN was like, "This network is shocked and appalled that our panelist joked about murdering a British Muslim journalist with an explosive beeper. This kind of language is only appropriate when directed at Muslims who live in the Middle East." Per the rules of the Western Empire, you are a religious extremist if you want to fight against an occupying force who has been abusing you your entire life. But you are not a religious extremist if you want to carpet bomb the Middle East to help fulfill a biblical prophecy. MSNBC's Rachel Maddow is back to pushing her Russians are interfering in the U.S. election narrative, so we know what we'll be hearing again if Kamala loses. No matter who wins, we can expect a bunch of outraged shrieking from the other side that the election was unfairly stolen from them. The U.S. presidential race is very openly a contest between two oligarch-owned Zionist war whores, and yet, after the results are announced next week, you're still going to hear half the country going, "Oh my God, election interference! The election was stolen from us!" It already was stolen, you dopes. It was stolen before the race even started. The rest is just narrative. I sure hope all the U.S. progressives who obediently stopped talking about Gaza these last couple of months remember to start that thing up again after the election is over. I'm just going to say this ahead of time so it's out there. You don't get to campaign on continuing a genocide and then blame the other side when you lose. That's not a thing. Trump will be worse on Gaza is such an obnoxiously dishonest argument. It's completely unfalsifiable and can't even be tested after the election, since abuses keep getting worse in Gaza anyway, and it's based on nothing but the claim that very vague statements made by Trump prove he'll facilitate Israeli atrocities more than the current administration already has been. It's completely empty narrative fluff with no basis on facts or evidence. There are all kinds of legitimate cases to be made that Harris would be a little bit better than Trump on some aspects of domestic policy and the environment, but there is no case whatsoever to be made that he'll be worse on Gaza than the administration that's already committing genocide there. He could be worse, he could be a bit better, or he could be exactly the same. There's no way to know, and there won't be any way to know in a universe where we can't observe alternate realities to compare what each candidate would have done if they'd won. It's an entirely unanswerable question that people are just pretending to know the answer to. Harris and the Democrats have repeatedly attacked Trump for not starting a war with Iran when he was president. She criticized him for making John Bolton sad when he refused to bomb Iran. How is that less insanely pro-Israel than anything Trump has said? If you want to argue that Harris will be better on reproductive rights or something, then go ahead. But when it comes to Gaza, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining.